Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining us today for the first Fulbright Journey session for year 2023. I'm Umara Daud. I'm working as an education advisor at your Islamabad office. We are grateful to our Fulbright alumni, Waqas Idrees, for agreeing to share his Fulbright journey with us today. Before we start, a bit about who we are and what USEFP and Fulbright Scholarship is about. Since 2005, Pakistan has had the world's largest Fulbright program in terms of US funding. United States Education Foundation, USEFP, is also the Fulbright Commission in the country. USEFP promotes mutual understanding between the people of Pakistan and people of the United States through educational and cultural exchange with offices in Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi. USEFP's programs department administers multiple fully funded programs, including the Fulbright Scholarship. You can find information on our fully funded programs on our website, www.usefp.org. The Fulbright Scholarship is a fully funded program that includes the cost of tuition, required books, airfare, accommodation, assistance with visa, monthly stipend, and health insurance. This year, our cycle started a bit early in January, and it goes till April 12th. Also, this year, the GRE minimum score has been revised. The minimum score for both the quantitative and the verbal section is 145. Please check our website and Facebook pages for information and updates regarding the Fulbright Scholarship. In addition to the programs department, USEFP also has an advising department. USEFP is committed to merit-based selection for the Fulbright program, as well as to all aspects of diversity. Our outstanding and accomplished candidates come from all the provinces and regions of the country, including the underserved areas. About half of our selection comprises of women. The Fulbright Scholarship Program encourages and supports applicants with disabilities. So today's session is about one such journey. Joining us today is the Fulbright alumni, Waqas Idrees. Waqas has done his master's in energy systems with a focus on energy market and climate change from Northeastern University with electives and a thesis conducted at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. During this time at the university, he interned with Schneider Electric, which is a multinational company providing energy and digital automation solutions for efficiency and sustainability. He was offered a full-time position, but he refused to come back to Pakistan. Today, we intend to take you through his Fulbright journey and ask him some questions about his inspirations and learnings. Please remember that we have a Q&A session at the end. Please write your questions in Q&A box so it is easier to navigate the question load. Please don't write them in the chat box, as we will reserve it for any resources or information to be shared during the session. Hi, Waqas.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so very much for having me. Feels good to be here and feels really surreal to be on the opposite side. Being an alumni, I mean, this is a huge deal. I mean, Fulbright changed my life and changes lives across the globe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to do the session for us today.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So before we delve into your journey, delve deeper into your journey, we just wanted you to introduce yourself and for our audience and let us know about your journey before Fulbright, like your qualifications, your experiences, your bachelor's degree. How was that experience, and what was that journey about, and who Waqas Idrees would be for them? Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I'm an electrical engineer. I was actually the first batch of my university. I graduated from what people call a non-brand university. We were the first batch, and for looking back, I think it was a positive thing because I got to prove myself. But at that point in time, that is the greatest test to any fresh engineer trying to find a job or land in the practical field. Because you talk to anyone from any field, taking that first step into practical life is the biggest hurdle. And coming from and graduating from a brand school or like established schools is always you get that edge. So for me, I got dealt the short end of the straw, and I'm not going to go into the reasons for why I ended up where I ended up and graduated from, because I think it all ended perfectly, and this was in the grand scheme of things, it was perfectly aligned. So I graduated, and after that I started looking for jobs, and interestingly, people actually turned me down, saying that by the time, if ever you make a name for yourself, your university won't even exist, stuff like that. So I started teaching. I started teaching because I thought I wanted to do research. I wanted to do practical research, and I was really passionate about educating the next generation. And why I wanted to do that is because youth and undergraduate students, they are not really coached into how or what awaits for them outside the university door. So with that in mind, I started teaching at ComSets, and I taught there for around 3 years or so. And I initiated an energy systems research group where we did brilliant work, brilliant practical work. And I was also teaching electrical courses. That was then I realized that I have to get a master's degree, and I have to get it from, I don't want to say like a brand thing, but I want to, now I want to prove myself. I want to let the world know that I have arrived. And my mom is a huge staunch supporter of education. And she used to say that even if we don't have money, I would rather you don't eat or we won't eat, but I'm not going to compromise on your education. So she always put education first. And she was the one who actually told me about Fulbright. And she was like, ever since I was in undergrad, she was like, I'm going to send you to the US, but since we don't have the money to send you to the US, you have to apply to the Fulbright and you have to go on the Fulbright scholarship. And it's a testament of her resilience and her motivation. I didn't get Fulbright on my first attempt. And that is what I tell everyone when I coach people. Because people they apply once and then they say, fine, this is not for me. I'm going to leave. I applied for it once, I got turned down. I applied for it twice, I got turned down. I applied thrice, and that's when I got it. So resilience is key, hard work is key. So that was like a brief thing of where I was and why I actually applied for the Fulbright scholarship.
My next question to you would be: how did you come to this field? Because this year specifically, we are looking at people who have chosen very different fields, very specifically non-traditional fields. So, what brought you to energy? What brought you to this sector?
Right. So I still remember, because I worked not very far from where I studied. In 2005, Islamabad and Pakistan was rocked by that earthquake. And we were at school, and I actually saw Margala Towers collapse. And after that, we did volunteering for PIMS. And I traveled up north with my uncle to see different areas and parts of the northern areas. And among other things that people were suffering from, one thing that stood out the most was lack of electricity. Mm-hmm. And electricity is the basic necessity. I mean, medical care, food, everything stems from electricity or power. And that made me thinking, so if, for example, if we have natural man-made calamities, is that reason for people to actually suffer? And that is what actually drove me to research on alternate ways of procuring energy or generating energy. And during my 6th semester, I believe, we came across this paper by Dr. Joe Paradiso. He worked at MIT Media Design Lab, and he had written a paper on generating electricity through human motion, so through a piezoelectric element. And that is when we decided to do that project practically, to generate motion through human movement. And that is what actually took me on that route to renewable energy or alternate energy, or this unconventional field of electronics. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. So as you mentioned that your mother is the one who pointed you to the Fulbright scholarship, I just want to know, once you decided that you are ready and you want to apply, what were your goals to apply for it, or if you get selected, what you really wanted to achieve?
Right. So there are a couple of things that I want to actually emphasize. Your family support is always with you, and you are the one. I mean, because I remember I used to feel dejected after my second rejection. And I was like, I'm not going to apply the third time. I am done. I'm not going to apply. And to the point that I actually enrolled at NUST for another master's, which actually ended up working because now I have two masters. I was actually working for it and I got this. But anyways, it was my mom, it was my sister who actually said, no, you have to try again. You have already tried 2 times. And I had actually at that time spent 3 or 4 years trying for Fulbright. And she was like, no, apply again. So number one, never feel dejected. That's my first thing. The other thing, I used to regularly, almost religiously attend the educational expos that you guys have, USEFP or Education USA expos. And I want to emphasize how important these are. Because when I applied the first time, my SOPs were different. My study objectives were completely different. They were written from a place which was uninformed. So when you actually go to these expos, you get to interact with different universities, you get to interact with the staff at USEFP. I actually also, USEFP used to do educational counselors. You actually get yourself enrolled with one and they actually help you, guide you through it. So that process actually helped me a lot. And I'm sorry, I completely lost track of the question you asked me.
My question was, like, when you were thinking of applying, what were your goals? Like what were you thinking? What would you achieve there? What was the motivation to go there?
So my foremost goal was to actually prove myself that I am capable enough. This thing that had been ingrained in me by the industry, that you come from a no place university or you come from such and such place, you're perhaps not capable enough. You're not perhaps technically capable enough, or you don't have the confidence. So my goal was to actually go out and prove to everyone that, no, I can do it. And trust me, anyone can do it. You just need that strength in you. And the other goal was actually one of the biggest fallacies of our educational system is that we teach kids, but we teach them theoretical knowledge. It's not backed by practical experience. You don't get a chance to actually work with the industry. So that academia industry linkage, that's lagging. So even though I had learned a lot about machines, electrical machines, and all of those good things, I had not actually practically worked on it. And then the field that I had chosen, my interest was in renewables and then climate change. And that was extremely new at that point. The very first solar or renewable plants that we had were in 2005, 2006. So I wanted to learn that. So my goal was driven, number one, by the cutting edge research that was happening in the US, the field that was so new that Pakistan did not have the academic credentials for actually imparting that knowledge on the students. So yeah. And as far as how if the goals were achieved or not, they were achieved, and we're going to go deep into that. I hope in the conversation, but yes.
Okay, so so as you mentioned that you withstood two rejections, and then you were selected the third time. I want to know what was the most difficult part or through the application process that you really thought was something that you had to work on, and second, what changed in the last application that you think it was the most important factor that might have affected your acceptance, or might have instigated the committee to select you?
Right. So as far as the application is concerned, like I mentioned, the very first time that I applied, it came from a place of I don't want to call it immaturity, but I did not take into consideration how much of a big deal it is. I mean, going on the Fulbright scholarship and everything associated with it, I had not taken that into consideration perhaps. And I just had applied for it like you just apply for anything random. So you do, and this is one thing that I tell people, you need to put your heart and soul into your application. And by application, I mean the SOP, I mean the study objectives. And how I actually bifurcate is the SOP actually it should come from a very personal place. The study objectives should come from a very intellectual place. And if you think that you've hit it in the head for both essays, I think you're good. The other thing I need to mention is people actually say that, oh, my grades were so bad, or I failed or flunked a particular course, and that is going to reflect. No, your grades and your courses, all of that matters, but it's only one part of a big application. So you have to see, and the Fulbright actually looks at the complete personality, the complete package, and your grades are only a small subset of your whole personality. So that was one of the things, and I think towards the end of it, the third interview, I had become more confident, I think, because it was like you sit through 3 interviews and you're like, okay, fine, this is like home. Okay, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to have an. So I think that fear that it held me back the first 2 times. The third time I still remember the third time I actually went. Oh, and this is one thing. Whenever you're asked if you have any follow-up questions at the end of the interview, never say, I don't have any questions. Always have questions, because it tells the other person that you have done your research and you're serious about it. And the third time, I still remember, they were like, do you have any questions? I was like, I was waiting for you to ask me that question. And I gave them like question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4. So yeah, it was just very, the last time around, it was very interactive. It was more intellectual, and it was more passionate.
Great. So I just want to know, once you were selected, and then you decided to go, how was your experience there in the university, and how did your path come out to be? Because in your introduction, I said Northeastern, but electives only, and MIT thesis. So it's something very interesting in your profile.
The very first day that I landed in Boston, so I'm one of those people who takes life as it comes, one day at a time. And I had not finalized an accommodation, and I still remember my cohort and everyone was like, they were like scrambling to find an apartment. I was like really relaxed. Guys, don't worry, we're gonna get something. And I ended up staying at Logan Airport for 3 or 4 nights because I had not finalized a place. And I just want to underpin here that no matter if you've finalized a place, no matter you have everything, things will be thrown at you that you do not expect. If you want to make those 2 years memorable and make them count, you have to take everything head on. And I mean everything, from theories to practical experiences, to you get dealt with a lot of cards that do not go in your favor. I still remember there was one friend of ours, and I met him after 1.5 years, and he was not eating eggs because he used to like travel 7 or 8 miles to actually get what he said were halal eggs. And I had to like sit and explain that halal eggs is not a thing. Eggs are eggs. And so you have to just relax, enjoy the moment. So yeah, so coming back to the point, the experience was amazing. And how I ended up from Northeastern to MIT was, it's one of those things that MIT, Harvard, Cornell, they're like dream schools. Everyone wishes they could attend it, right? And I actually asked my professor if I could enroll in one of the courses at MIT, and he turned me down. He shot me down. He was like, no, it's fine. But then I had to actually give him a whole, and that is what I want to actually, again, emphasize. Whenever you're going talking to your parents, to your professors, to your mentors, always have a list of why you want to do something. It has to connect, especially in the US, especially those professors are not like our run-of-the-mill professors over here. They actually stand by you as long as you give them credible reasons for something. And I sat down with the professor and told them, okay, this is what MIT is going to teach me. This is something that is perhaps not covered in my course at Northeastern. So climate change, privatization, competitive markets. And I will be learning from professors who have actually done competitive markets. And he gave me the go-ahead. He said, fine, okay, do your lectures over there. And I ended up doing electives, all of my electives and my thesis at MIT because of his blessing. But then again, it was not only his blessing. I had to actually apply for at MIT, and they had their own process that I had to go through. The one of the things that I want to just underline here, because you asked about experiences and how it was like, I get asked a lot of these questions like, Fulbright actually brings cultures, and it is a cultural exchange program, and it is a marriage of cultures. ended up staying with a North American roommate, and he's like a brother to me right now. I mean, we're still in touch. Whenever I go to the US, we hang out. He's one of the best people I know. Doug, shout out when he use this, he's probably going to say, "Why didn't you say my name?" So he used to ask me questions like, "How do you know who Madonna is?" or "How do you know who Michael Jackson is?" or how. I was a huge Friends fan and a Harry Potter fan, and but how do you know who these people are? And like, dude, I came from Pakistan. I did not come from. I was not living under a rock, and these are the things that actually connected us, because these questions were not coming from a place of racial profiling or anything. These were honest questions, because I know the guy. These were honest questions, and they were genuinely interested in our culture. So he used to like, okay, what are you gonna cook? So I made him aloo ka paratha once, because I'm a huge foodie and I love to cook, and I was actually labeled Zubaida Appa of my cohort. So I actually bonded with a lot of people on food. So yeah.
So I think what your experience is that one, whenever you are, if you're selected, or even when you are applying, the most important thing would be to do your research, and it should be well researched, and you have to give your 100% to what you are thinking about, whether it's your statement of purpose, whether your application, or if you are already selected in a program and you're interested in new opportunities. It has to be well researched and well thought through to really take the fruits of that experience. I would like to, so would you like to share
my presentation in the background?
Okay, so these are your Fulbright memories.
Yes. So just want to highlight a couple of things. We had a lot of opportunities. Again, one thing, Fulbright is as interesting as you want it to be, or it can be as boring as you want it to be. So I celebrated all holidays. We did volunteering. I actually ended up doing an itikaf for Ramzan for 10 days, and I was volunteering the whole time at the local Islamic center. We celebrated Christmases, we celebrated Halloweens, Thanksgiving. We actually had Thanksgiving, and our theme was Alhamdulillah. So just appreciate the culture. We did iftar parties, and all of this food was actually cooked by me. I brought in people from across the US, and they helped me. This was our food connection. We actually did a dholki for one of my friends in the US. He was a foreign friend, and we celebrated his dholki. We did the Black Friday thing, because that is something that everyone actually wants to do. So yeah, and I'm sorry you were asking a question, and I just wanted to put some color to the things that I'm saying.
Absolutely, I think people would be really enjoying. Our audience would be really enjoying and seeing this, and I think the visuals make it more interesting. Yeah. Anyway, so I just want to ask. You have answered this question a bit, but I would just want to see if you, I want to specifically talk about your experience and your selection for Schneider Electric. I think that's something that the audience would benefit from.
Oh, so it's very pertinent that this slide came up, actually. So I actually had no intention of working. My thing was that I'm going to go for 2 years. I'm going to just do my coursework, I'll do my theory. And by many standards, I thought that I'd maxed out when I did the MIT thing. I was like, okay, fine, this is done. This is the peak of Fulbright. I'm okay with this. I'd be happy if I go back home now. And during my last year, actually, I got a random call from someone, from this Mike Christopher guy, and he was like, hey, I'm calling from Schneider Electric, and we have an opening, and we would love for you to actually come in and have an interview with us for this position. I was like, dude, I never even applied for it. So he's like, your name actually came recommended by your professor at Northeastern. I was like, wow, okay, it did. So I must be doing something right. So I went to my professor and I talked to him. He was like, yeah, because I've observed you over the past 1.5 years, and I think you have the credentials they're looking for. So I said, fine, okay. I went to the interview. Another thing that I want to talk about Schneider Electric is I upfront told them that, hey, I don't have a car. You are like, I don't know, 20 miles out of Boston. I don't know how to come to you. And they were like, fine, we're going to send you a cab. So they actually sent me a cab on their dime to for me to actually come to the interview at Schneider Electric. And I got the internship as power systems design engineer. I had the opportunity to work with some of the best technical minds in North America and Europe. And it was not only technical. These pictures are an example of some of the experiences that I had with Schneider Electric. I came in one day and my cubicle was all decked out. They had celebrated, and this lady, Marcia, she actually brought in a cake to celebrate my birthday. And I still remember my boss said that we are your family away from family. So they were actually celebrating life with me. Then Maria, she's an amazing person. She took me to this drum thing, and then we had corporate fun events. It was amazing. It was amazing. And this is something that, again, I'm just going to hammer this again and again and again. Hard work pays off, dedication pays off. So if you are on the Fulbright, inshallah, I hope you all get your Fulbright. Always give your 100%, no matter what you're doing, no matter how trivial it feels like, that no one is paying attention to you. Always give your 100%, because you never know when an opportunity would knock on your door because of that whole duration that you're there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I would just, yes, it did. Thank you so much. I will just let our audience know that in a while we'll start our Q&A session. Please drop your questions in a Q&A box. We'll be asking questions to our panelist, and he'll be able to answer them. So you worked as an intern there, and then they offered you a job, and you decided not to take it and come back to Pakistan. So I would like to know, what were your goals when you were coming back, and why you? Well, yeah. So what was your motivation, and what were your thinking process, and what were you thinking as a career about your career and how to shape it?
So. When you're on the Fulbright Scholarship, I'm just going to go back to this one slide. You connect with the world. So all of these people, all of these friends that I'm still in connect with, most of them we still talk. They were from respective countries, and we used to talk to each other. And initially, I was like, and I'll be frank, when I went there, I was like, you have to come back to Pakistan, really? I'm here. I'm getting all of these opportunities. What's the use? I don't know. But when you talk to people, when you go out, your mind actually expands, and you think about stuff that you actually never dreamed that you would think of. And when you talk to these people and all of these brilliant people that are there for the same experience that you are, you get to appreciate the fact that you got this program, this amazing opportunity because of the country that you're applying from, and you're there for 2 years, and you just want to come back and give back to the country. And it's only 2 years of your life, and I think the country owes it to you. Actually, I mean, you owe it to the country to actually come back and give back to your motherland. And most of these people, they are actually back in their countries right now, and they are doing terrific work. They are part of the government. They're part of the private organizations. So that was my biggest thing. I want to come back. And I'll be frank, I discussed it with them, and we had like long sittings, and we all decided, no, we need to go back. I mean, and if nothing else, it's only going to be 2 years. But right now it's been 10 years. Actually, I left my Fulbright in 2013, and it's 2023. It's 10 years, and I'm still here, and I'm still enjoying my work over here. Despite all difficulties, whatever comes my way, I've never regretted a single day of that decision of not wanting to come back.
So tell us about your work experience coming back to Pakistan, and what have you been doing, and how Fulbright has shaped your thinking to think about what is something that you would like to work in, and has it been a good decision for you? Right.
So when I went there, I was like, like I told you, that I wanted to study alternate energy and then climate change, and I'm still working on that, and I'm working with on different projects. Alhamdulillah, I'm working with most recently I'm working on a USAID project related to the power sector, and we're working on opening the electricity market. So I'm doing whatever I wanted to do, but that is something that I don't want to focus. I want to focus on something that was actually an unexpected outcome of the Fulbright program. Boston is famous for its blizzard. the snowy season, I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible to the point that they actually enacted the home tuition thing. I mean, you actually had to study from home, and we had an online system where we enrolled in our courses, and almost for one semester, I spent one semester at my home to do the lectures because it was that bad. I'm talking about 2014, I believe, yes. And it was the worst winters in over 100 years in Boston. And before I left for the Fulbright, and ever since I was growing up, I used to give tuitions to try to give as much tuition as I could to underprivileged kids in my area. And when I was in Boston, I actually realized that this online education system, this LMS portal, and all of these things, this technology, the IoT, this is something that can actually be replicated to increase the reach of education for the masses, for the youth. Because Pakistan has around 25 million students who are children who are out of school. And that was the unexpected outcome of Fulbright, that when I came back, I actually started working on education for youth. I did 2 pilot studies. I'm still involved in it. I actually published the studies at MIT conferences in 2019 and 2016. And during COVID, the study that I published in 2019, a lot of researchers from around the globe actually reached out to me because they wanted to implement it due to COVID for their own areas. So that was the unintentional consequence of an experience that would have never come to my mind had I not been there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So we would like to know how the Fulbright journey or experience changed you as a person, or personally or professionally. I think that is something that our audience would like to know, how this experience changes how you think about your future goals or life.
Right. One of the things that I immediately realized had changed is, even before I got the Fulbright, it was when I was rejected. And that is fear. Fear always makes you not do things that you want to do, or fear of failure, I should say. And so my first thing was, this is something that I want to tell everyone, is don't let fear of failure hold you back. Mm-hmm. Always, and don't let judgment hold you back. People are going to always judge you. I still remember when I was leaving, I'm an only son, and my family, extended family, used to say that you're going to leave your mom all alone. And since my mom had already pushed me, and I had those second thoughts before I was leaving, my mom was saying, no, you have to go. You have to go. It's only for 2 years. And don't let people's judgment stop you from what you want to do. Don't let fear of failure stop you from what you want to do. So that is the biggest thing that actually changed in me. The other thing that actually contributed to my personality is how it opened my perspective. That you basically, your mind opens up to possibilities that you, like I mentioned, this education thing. You tend to think in innovative ways or unconventional ways. Mm-hmm. And that is something that is huge for Fulbright. I used to be scared of doing adventure sports, and I brought up this slide. I did all of the. I did the wipeout run thing. I did Spartan, and at the end of the finish line, I actually, when everyone was writing messages on the board, I wrote for Fulbright, because this was my homage to this experience of a lifetime. I did paragliding. And this is where I come from. Fulbright can be anything that you want it to be. It can be as interesting, it can be as adventurous, it can be as intellectual, it can be as inspiring as you want it to be. I've seen people for their internship sit in UN journal meetings. I've seen people travel to Conference of Party meetings working on climate change with policymakers. The world is literally in your hands, and it depends upon you, how you want to spend those 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So I think last few questions, and then I think we'll open it up for our audience. Please do put your questions in the Q&A box, because our panelists will be able to answer those questions then. One, the networks and the connections that you made while your time there. How did you work on that, and did they help you? Does it really, the network still is useful to you?
So yes, networks, they work. Networking works. My biggest recommendation for anyone, inshallah, who gets the Fulbright scholarship is immediately get your contact cards or business cards made. And you just have to say your name, a Fulbright student or Fulbright scholar with the university that you're going to attend, because you're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to meet a lot of people within your field, outside your field. And those connections, even though not all connections have to work out, because you're not meeting people for career growth. You're not, it's just interacting with people. And all of these connections, like I said, with the Schneider Electric example, then my boss actually recommending me for a full-time job, then my boss actually recommending me for a position at National Grid, those things. And then when I was actually traveling, so yeah, okay, so when I decided to come back to Pakistan, my boss at Schneider Electric in Boston, he contacted the boss here in Pakistan to actually interview me in case I want to join Schneider Electric in Pakistan. So those connections actually work out. And I'm in contact with all of these people now. So whenever I go to the US, or if I travel to any of these countries, Vietnam, Thailand, wherever, I have friends everywhere. And then the community is so strong that they are with you when you are getting married. They're with you when you're going through tough times. I have seen people, because we are part of this LinkedIn group and Facebook group, if people are looking for jobs on LinkedIn or Facebook, they reshare your post. They actually connect you to other people. So it's amazing. The power of networking is the biggest tool that you have in this day and age of IoT and media platforms.
I think there are two questions that I want to ask, but I will maybe, one is I think it's connected to the application process. You talked about the statement of purpose, but you didn't talk about the GRE preparation, because right now, whoever has been applying or who are applying, they're in the process of giving their GRE, and it's quite a strong process. I would like to know how you thought about it and how you went through it, and what are your thoughts about that?
Just a few seconds on the SOP. I wrote my SOP over 20 times. I wrote it, I sent it to different people to have it edited or to have a look at it so that they can tell me what connects, if it makes sense. Because when you're writing it from your own lens. And you have to understand that people have to read it and it has to connect with everyone. So spend your time. And I've seen people, and this is what I think one of the biggest blunders that people make with SOPs and study objectives, they only give it a day or 2 days at most. Think about everything that can contribute to your application. And I used to write one draft. I used to edit it like 3 or 4 times. Then I used to leave it aside and work on something else. Then I used to come back to it after a week with fresh eyes. I used to show it to my mom, to my sister, and people who you trust, who know you inside and out. So that is on the SOP. As far as GRE is concerned, I'll be really frank. My mental math sucks. I'll be really frank with you. I'm an engineer, but I'm one of those engineers who sucks at mental maths. And that was, I guess, the biggest bane of my existence while preparing for the GRE, because GRE is a timed test, and the math section, you have to answer, I don't know, 60 questions, 60 minutes or something. And where a good guy or like a good brainy person would actually, like I have friends who do one question in like 30 seconds. I actually take 2 minutes to solve the same question. So it's constant practice. And what I did was I had Kaplan, I believe, or whatever resource that you have. But in addition to that, I actually took out math books from my nephew's federal board course. He was in like 6th or 7th grade. So I used to learn from his 6th grade math book, because I had, and that is it, practice. You need to practice whatever resources you can find, practice. And one other thing for the GRE, the English section, vocabulary. Irrespective of whether you use it or not, you need to have good vocabulary. Vocabulary, and just read newspapers, write. Because when you write or when you read, it's going to also impact your essay score. And not only that, ultimately, when you're doing your master's or even after when you're working, ultimately you have to end up in a desk job where you write reports. So good writing is always going to be key, and vocabulary is going to come into practice. So just make a good vocabulary.
Thank you, Waqas. Just last question, and I would like you to be a bit more precise about it because I think we have a few questions that we would like to answer. Any advice for you have already given a lot of alternate or unconventional advice to our students already, but we would like to ask if there's any specific advice you want to give, and then quickly we'll go to the questions.
I mean, the only advice, and I think I'm not going to spend that much time on this because just work hard for your application. Don't let fear stop you, even if you are not selected on the first attempt. If this is something that this is one thing that you have to answer yourself or ask yourself before you apply. How bad do you want it? Is this something that you are really passionate about? If you're only doing it just because you're doing it, I don't know. You have to be really passionate because this is a grueling process, but the payoff is amazing. But if you are doing it from a passionate place, stick to it. Even if you get rejected once, apply for it again.
Okay, so we start our Q&A session now. Anonymous attendee, hello. Since the education system is going down with each passing day, I would want to get into some university in US, and that too with scholarship. Kindly help me out with that.
Do you want me to answer this, or you as education US?
We are just talking about Fulbright scholarship. If you really want to apply to US, this is a scholarship that is fully funded. Please do go ahead and to our website www.usefp.org and see the Fulbright scholarship page. You will get all the information that's required to apply for the scholarship. Anonymous attendee.
Just to add to that, you guys also have education expos, so do make a point to attend those expos. They are in all different countries, so if you want more information, attend the expos.
So, Waqas, with your unconventional degree and unconventional advice, there are unconventional questions as well. Yeah. So, but what to do when family isn't supporting? How to convince them?
Interesting. So, my thing is to have a discussion with them, because this is where it came from for me. When my extended family said that you can't go, you can't leave your mom alone, and because my dad had Alzheimer's and it was early onset Alzheimer's when I was leaving, that was a huge question for me. Should I go? Should I not go? You need to sit down with your family and you need to discuss it all in the open. Why do you want to go? Why do they not want you to go? You have, is it a gender thing? What is it? Is it coming from a place of immaturity? Is it something, are they afraid that you're not going to be able to meet your expenses? All of these questions have answers. All of my friends, if it's a gender thing, they actually said, and they still say that they felt really safe, and they felt more safe perhaps over there. So there are always reasons for someone not wanting you to go or for someone pushing you into something. So have a frank discussion, and your family should always be frank. You should always be open with your family or your loved ones.
Okay, so the next question is also by anonymous attendee. But what to do when family isn't? Oh, sorry, I haven't applied for Fulbright scholarship, but I wanted to. The question is how to prepare for GRE and how long will it take to prepare?
I mean, there's a short answer and a long answer. I prepared for my GRE for close to I think 2.5 months, around that time period. I would say start as soon as you can, and filling out the application. The deadline is April, right? So yes, start the application right now. Start the application, fill out the application right now. You can still do the GRE. There's a lot of time. Maybe you can comment on, Umara, on what the deadlines are for submission of the GRE scores, and maybe based on that, they can actually schedule their tests.
Absolutely. This year, our Fulbright session has started a bit earlier in January, and it goes till April 12th. This year, the GRE minimum score has also been revised. It's 145 for both quantitative and verbal. As Waqas said, you can start your application now, and you can, take a date for GRE. And if you have started some preparation, I think it should accelerate because I think you have a month and a half months or so. But it depends on how you prepare and how much preparation you need. And it's very personal.
I actually also did one thing, if I can just quickly add to this, is I took a mock test at USEFP. You guys have a mock test. So I actually started with the mock test so that I had a benchmark of how much I can actually increase. So that is a resource also that you can.
Absolutely. So another question by anonymous attendee. I haven't applied. Oh, sorry. This question is by Nida B. I would request the speaker to share some valuable tips targeting winning SOP, as it can help me to drive key variables and make rough draft of SOP. I think you did answer this question to some extent.
Yes.
If you have any.
Talking about SOP is a huge, I mean, it's a separate sitting for me, but I think if I can just sum it into one thing, it has to come from a place of passion. SOP, the study of the person statement is something that comes from a place of passion, and study objectives is something that comes from a place of intellect. Just have to be passionate, believe in itself.
Can anonymous attendee, can a study research objective for Fulbright application be focused in an area in which you are currently not working or not have any working experience? How can one justify that in an interview?
So my most of my academic career, or most of my part of my professional career, was focused on electrical engineering, and my focus was on climate change and then renewables, which is not directly related to power or electric power, because I want to focus more on energy markets, which is more on the microeconomic side of things. It all again comes down to how you actually word it and how you connect the dots. It's all about connecting the dots. If it resonates with the interviewer or the reader that, okay, fine, he went, and I have examples. There were lawyers in our cohort who actually ended up at film school. It has to connect. You just have to connect the thought that this is something that is related, or this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life. It's not something that you're doing on a whim. So you have to be passionate about it.
Okay. Anonymous attendee, I am a software engineer at NetSol Technologies, graduated from PUCIT in 2022. I'm confused a lot whether should I go for scholarship program or should continue my software engineering job, and after getting some experience should directly go for job abroad. Please address my question.
I mean, it depends upon what you want to do with your life. Quite honestly, if you feel like you don't want to do a master's, then I mean, honestly, it's as simple as that. Do you want to do a master's degree? And if so, do you want to do it on a scholarship or do you want to do it on your own time? If you feel like the job that you're in does not require you to do a master's, you don't want to do a master's, maybe you are better off doing MCSE or some other technical certification related to your field. Your choice, your prerogative.
So can your personal statement and study objectives be overlapping? How distinguished should they be from each other?
So the personal statement and study objectives they should connect. They should not be they should not overlap too much. For example, I'll give you an example. As I mentioned, the 2005 earthquake thing. My personal essay went into the specifics of the earthquake, and it just touched upon the renewable part of it. But my study objectives discussed renewables in great detail, but used earthquake as a premise to build into. So basically, again, I go back to the same thing, and it's the essay should be more objective, and the personal statement should be more subjective. It should be more personal. One is more fact-driven, the other is more heart-driven, if it makes sense.
I think this question by Iqbal Hussain, I think to some extent you've already answered a few of this, but we just still ask this question. I've graduated recently in biochemistry and have attended all the sessions and webinars offered by USEFP platform, but I'm scared of failure this year. Not ready to take GRE in a month. So should I do it? Should I pay for this year or prepare for the next year?
Iqbal, I'm here. I'm like living proof that failures happen in life, and failures happen multiple times in life. Again, don't let failure stop you from doing something that you really want to do. What is the worst that can happen if you apply for Fulbright this year? The worst thing that can happen is you'll get rejected. and that's not the end of the world. Maybe this will give you some experience of which areas you were lagging in, and next year you come back stronger. It's your call, literally your call.
So Ahmed Azim is asking, can we do masters in business management after engineering degree?
Of course, why not? If you feel like that is something that you want, I hope it's not one of those things engineers have to do an MBA after they graduate. If it's one of those things, I would say that why do you want to do it? Always question why you are doing something. There should always be a firm reason to what you are doing. As long as you can justify that intellectually, fine, do it.
Okay, so maybe one last question, and if we have more questions, we'll let you know. Does having research experience, this is a question that comes really frequently to us, that do we need research experience to apply for a master's degree? Do we need publications to apply for a master's degree? For PhD, we do have certain other requirements, and we are very clear about it. But for a master's degree, for example, renewable energy or engineering, fields like these, is it necessary to have that?
It's not necessary, but it actually helps you build your case that what you want to do is something that you're backing with publication or active research. But if it is something that you do not have, it's not a deal breaker. And I'm talking that out of experience. I did not have any single publication before I went to the Fulbright. And then after that, once I was there, I did my publications. It's not a deal breaker. It shouldn't be a deal breaker for masters.
Okay. So one more question that I will ask you, just to give some idea to our audience and students, is that can you also talk about a bit about the structure of your program, in a sense? Well, how much of the semester system, how many semesters did you study or did electives, and when did the thesis start, and how did that all went? Yeah.
So I started my program in September of 2013. I had 4 semesters in all, spread over 2 years. Again, there are some programs which offer 1-year degree. There are programs that offer 1.5 years degree. It depends upon what kind of program you're going in, what school you're going in. My school had 2 years, and I actually went overboard by around 3 months because I was working at Schneider Electric and then also doing my thesis with MIT. And then I actually also enrolled in a leadership course offered at Northeastern, the Gordon Leadership Program. I also did a training in Seattle, which was offered through Northeastern. So, and the interesting part is that I also enrolled in cross programs, as in courses that overlap between fields. So I took a course in the design school as well, because I was doing climate change. So I went to the School of Architecture as well to study buildings and stuff. So the world is your oyster. You can mix and match as long as it falls within the elective and the body of the program that you're in.
Yeah, so we have a question that I have a degree in telecom engineering, and I want to go apply for a master's in AI technology. Should my study objectives be catered to AI? Would it backfire because my background is not from AI?
I don't know your background. I don't know if you're working. I don't know how much exposure you have to AI, but it's always good to have a basis to why you want to do AI. Is this something that you just want to do because the world is doing it right now and you just see that, okay, this is the next fad? Or is this something that you are actively interested in? So if it's something that you're actually interested in, you can link it with something that you have done in your undergraduate studies, maybe a course that actually piqued your interest into AI, or maybe a chat GPT experience that you can link to, and that actually wants you to delve further into the field. So you have to, again, I go back to the same thing. And this is now full of cliches now, jo main itni der se baat kar raha hu, कि you have to answer, you have to question yourself, why am I doing this? Is this something that I really want to do?
Thank you so much, Waqas. This was an amazing session. You shared some really candid insights and really candid experiences here. And I'm sure our audience have really enjoyed going through your journey and your insights and your learnings. I think we will now close the Q&A session. And also, I want to share that the recording of this session will be uploaded on USEFP YouTube channel, and a link will be posted on the USEFP Facebook page. Please do, this is for the people who maybe want to come back and access some information, or people who have missed the session altogether. If you have more questions, please connect to our program department at info@usefp.org for Fulbright scholarship. Please also do follow us on our USEFP social media pages, Twitter and Instagram. We are very grateful for your participation, and thank you for coming today and being part of this session. Thank you so much, Waqas. This was something that really was interesting and very it was a specific journey that we went through, and your specific insights and your specific experiences that the audience got to know. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so very much for having me. Best of luck, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.